What's going on? What's going on, brothers? This is a late night stream. It's Wednesday night, guys. It is July 21st, 2021. It's Wednesday. This is Wednesday night, brothers. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having a good week. But I'm here tonight. I am here tonight to talk with you guys about issues, concerns pertaining to Black men that were raised tonight by Dr. Hasan Johnson and the Onyx report. What's going on, brothers? What's going on, brothers? I'm not going to show my face tonight. I'm not going to show my face tonight. But this is for all Black men. This is for all Black men. What's happening? What's happening? I see you, Adam Williams. I see you, Brandon Penn. I see you, Dre Million. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see you. I see all you brothers here tonight. I just left the Onyx report. I just left a lively conversation with Dr. Hasan Johnson, with Green Gorilla, Marcus Aurelius, my brother, Keep It 100. If y'all don't know anything about Keep It 100, if y'all know anything about Keep It 100, I want y'all to go to Keep It 100's YouTube channel and subscribe and like and everything. There were a whole bunch of brothers who were in the house tonight, and we were talking about the condition of Black men in relationship to what I'm calling colonized Black women. What's happening? Colonized Black women, brothers. Colonized Black women. Oh, yes. Oh, we got to talk about it tonight, brothers. We have to talk about it. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Dr. Hasan Johnson, and I don't know if Dr. J, what's going on? What's going on? I don't know if Dr. J, I don't know if Dr. J understood exactly what he was doing tonight in dealing with the colonized situation of Black women. I don't know if Dr. J was aware, and Dr. J has already put the stream up. Y'all go back. He talks about the velvet painting. This is a 3-hour stream, and the impetus of this stream came from an image that is very, very popular in Black circles, Black nationalistic circles in particular. We've seen it. The Black nationalists, they are very, very persistent in promoting this idea of unconditional Black love. Unconditional Black love. That Black men must be devoted two black women and black men must be devoted to the idea of a black family. Black men must be devoted to this notion of a full-blown, robust black community that is unconditional. My super chat is up, brothers. My super chat is up. The super chat is up. I just installed super chat. If you guys want to support this, you can support this thing by way of super chat. You can also support this by way of Cash App. My Cash App, brothers, is $BMI 3000. There's Cash App $BMI 3000. You can also support this by way of PayPal. PayPal me, Ronald B. Neal. PayPal me, Ronald B. Neal. Black Men's Media is in the house. Black Men's Media is in the house. Media that is devoted particularly and exclusively to black men is in the house tonight. What's going on? I see you, brother Brandon Penn. I see you, brother. And we're talking about it. The brothers are coming in. I see all you guys. I see you, Donald Smith. I see you, Ray Notes. I see you, SMV, GRV #1. I see you. We are in the house tonight. And that black men have been committed. And I told y'all know that people tell me I'm an elder. I guess I'm an elder now. I guess I'm an elder. I am 47 years old. In September, on September the 6th, I will turn 48. So I guess that makes me an elder, right? I guess that makes me an elder. And I'm old enough to be a man who has experienced marriage. I'm old enough to be a man who has had children. Hell, I'm old enough to be a man to have had children who are now in their adult years. I'm old enough to have a child or to have children who are among the Gen Z generation, those who are in their early 20s, those who are entering in their 20s and what have you, those who are under the age of 25. I'm old enough to be a daddy. But I am not a daddy. I am not a daddy. I am not a husband. I am not married. I am a bachelor. I am a single black man. And there are real reasons why, brothers. There are real reasons why I am not married. There are real reasons why that, unlike my other cohorts, Dr. J and my good brother, the Green Gorilla, and other people, BGS, other people who are on YouTube, who are my age or in my age group, there are reasons why I have remained a childless, unmarried black man. And those reasons pertain to the condition of the United States. The condition of the United States. Look here, brothers. I do not think that I am better than any black man who has children. I do not think that I am better than any black man who has been married or who is married. A black man who has gone through divorce, a black man who has gone through child support, a black man who has gone through the ringer or what have you, a black man who is trying to recover his life after committing himself to a bunch of ideals, a black man who has committed himself to this unconditional politics of duty. I hope the Green Gorilla is here. I hope Dr. J is already here. But there's a word in philosophy. There's a word in the world of philosophy. There's a word that is used to talk about duty. Duty. The other word that we use in relationship to duty is the word obligation. That is, you feel or you have been socialized to believe that you are obligated to contribute to the persistence of the black race, particularly here in North America, brothers. Particularly here in North America, brothers. I was on Dr. J's live stream. Shout out to Dr. J. And we talked about the nationalist orientation. What is the nationalistic orientation? Well, Dr. Umar Johnson, y'all know who Dr. Umar Johnson is. Dr. Umar Johnson. Dr. Umar Johnson is a black man who everybody knows. A black man who preaches a philosophy of black solidarity. He is a black man who preaches the efficacy of the black family. He is a black man who believes that black American men and black American women in the context of the United States, they have an imperative to be together. They have an imperative to create families, to procreate, and to contribute to the persistence of black people. Dr. Umar Johnson believes that there is no other woman that the black man should consider. Dr. Umar Johnson dismisses all of the kinds of concerns and issues and problems that we have seen over the last, at least over the last 50 years, that have made marriage impossible, that have made marriage unattractive, that have not given black men like myself an incentive to get married, brothers. And I'm one of those black men. I am one of those black men in the United States. I am not a married man. I am a certified, bona fide, full-fledged bachelor. But despite that, we still have an idea and even an ideology that says that black men like myself, black men who have some type of footing in the economic system, black men who are not at the bottom, that black men have some obligation to keep the black family alive, the black project going, and what have you, through the project of marriage. And Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, my brothers, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, in this most recent stream, has dealt with some of the fissures, some of the fault lines, some of the limitations that are attached to this type of ideology, brothers. And I'm here to continue this conversation that is here, my brothers. I'm here to continue the conversation that was started by Dr. T. Hasan Johnson of Fresno State University, Dr. T. Hasan Johnson, who is the mastermind behind the Institute of Black Masculine Studies. I am here to put this thing forward, brothers. And I'm glad that you guys are here. And y'all look at the title of the chat. Y'all look at the title of the stream in particular. The stream is called Black Men and Colonized Women. Black Men and Colonized Women. And what do I mean by colonized women, brothers? Is that if you are a black man who lives in America, the United States, or if you are a black man who lives in the United Kingdom, if you live in a society as a black man that is dominated or has been dominated for centuries by Anglos, it has been dominated by what we know today as the Anglo-American, or has been dominated by the Anglo tradition on the continent of Europe, particularly the United Kingdom. You are a black man who has been subject to the ideologies and the practices and policies of what some have called Anglicism. So I'm going to be a little bit academic tonight, brothers. I'm going to be a little bit academic tonight, but I'm going to try to make this thing a little live and try to keep this thing on the ground for all of us. I'm glad to see you, brothers. I'm glad to see you, brothers. I am glad to see you, brothers. Let's just get into the heart of the matter. I'm gonna get into the heart of the matter, guys. The heart of the matter is, my brothers, the heart of the matter is that we deal with a situation of colonization, a situation of colonization, and that black women, the Afro-American woman, the female, the Afro-American woman as a female is a woman outside of the legacy of slavery. The Afro-American woman is a colonized woman. The Afro-American woman is a colonized woman. And what do I mean by colonization? I mean that the Afro-American woman has been psychologically conditioned. She has been programmed. She has been oriented towards the dominance of white society. What that means is that from the time that she is introduced into the world through birth, when she is born, the black girl, the black baby girl, when she comes into the world, a black baby girl who comes into the world, into the United States, it doesn't matter whether she was born 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, it doesn't matter if she was born 10 years ago, that black girl is vulnerable and she is manipulated primarily by the dominant society that she lives in. I want to give a shout out to BGS Ibmore. I want to give a shout out to BGS Ibmore because BGS Ibmore, and also Dr. J, because Dr. J was the first to do this, and even Green Gorilla, he did this as well. BGS Ibmore, the Green Gorilla, the G with the PhD, as well as Dr. Hasan Johnson, they both posted videos. They both have done commentary on a black man who had a serious problem. And y'all can see this. A black man posted a video where he's having a conversation with his daughter. You have a black man, he has a phone conversation while he is driving with his daughter. And the daughter in the conversation appears to be a girl, a black girl who is under the age of 11. I'll say she might be 9 years old, she might be 10 years old, or what have you. And in the conversation, this black man, who apparently is a co-parent, as they call it, he's trying to talk to his daughter, and he's trying to be a father to his daughter and trying to make concessions to his daughter. And his daughter talks to him with high levels of disrespect. High levels of disrespect, my brothers. And it is so disrespectful. It is clear that this daughter, this young girl who came from him, who he produced, has been influenced by ideologies, ideas. And I would say that they come from her mother, and they probably come from not only her mother, but all the women who surround her. She probably has grown up in a house full of women. And this young girl has learned at a very, 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 very young age. This young girl has learned at a very, very young age that black men are not to be respected, that black men are not to be revered, even if he is your father, even if he is your daddy. You are not supposed to respect your father. You are not supposed to respect your father. You are to disrespect him, even if he is the person that you came from or what have you. And we're going to talk about the colonized nature of the Afro-American woman. And this is a conversation that goes further, again, beyond the screen. that Dr. Hasan Johnson produced just recently on his broadcast, his Wednesday night broadcast, which we all know as the Onyx report. And I'm glad that all of you guys are in the house tonight. Again, brothers, I did not expect to do this. This is about inspiration. Y'all know how I do it sometimes with these live streams. I am raw. And I am uncut. I am unfiltered. But this is what we have to talk about. We have to talk about colonization. There were brothers on Dr. Johnson's stream who came from different parts of the world. We had a brother on the stream who was from Nigeria. We had a brother on the stream who has roots in the Cape Verde Islands. We're talking about international brothers who attest and confirm the fact that Black men are up against forces that are overwhelming, that are impinging, forces that we cannot ignore, that we cannot pretend do not exist. I have the G with the PhD up in the house. I got the G with the PhD in the house. How you doing, brother? Where is the G with the PhD? I got keeping. I'm gonna have keeping 100 up in the house.
Check. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, man. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, bro.
All right, I got keeping 100 up in the house. What's up? Keeping 100. Y'all go to keep 100. Marcus Aurelius. This is a continuation of what we had talked about on the Onyx report, and I'm just going to put this out here, man. We're talking about the context of the United States, and brothers, I have come to the conclusion that that Black women are colonized. They have been colonized by feminist ideology. They have been colonized by liberalism. They have been colonized by expressions of white-oriented, interested ideologies in the Western world, feminism, liberalism, and I'm going to add capitalism, which push them at odds with Black men. And this is something that we cannot ignore, and something that we have to confront head on. It's very hard and difficult for Black men to deal with. We in the manosphere, here's the thing, we in the manosphere, we deal with this stuff at a superficial level, but I want to take this thing to a different level, because I really think that there are a lot of Black men. I said this when I was with Dr. Johnson, that there are a lot of Black men who are still committed to a dutiful orientation towards women. They are still committed to traditional understandings of masculinity, but that understanding or orientation is not reciprocated by women, which means that everything that we do is a one-way street. Everything we do benefits them, and there is nothing that comes back in return to us. So, G with the PhD, holla at us, man. I'm glad you're here, bro.
What's up, man? I'm glad to be here, bro. Yeah, I saw you on. I said, oh, did he leave a link? I said, oh, there it is. But man, when I saw that, I was highly disturbed. And the first impression that I got from it was, man, the gynocracy starts early.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't start when women, reach maturation and puberty. This is a mindset that's inculcated in the minds of these young girls, man.
Yes.
By the time they learn how to speak. Okay, now all I can tell you is it was highly disturbing to see it, man. And I think the guy, was basically trying to prove or demonstrate a point, but at the same time, man, sometimes you got to cut some things off, man. And right there, I'd have cut her off. I'd have been like, oh, that's how you gonna act? I'll holler at you, period. You ain't my kid. I'm sorry. I know it sounds, crazy. And I know kids sometimes lash out and they say things that they shouldn't say. But at the same time, you're not going to check me on the phone like you're a grown woman, man. No, bruh. And if she's talking like that to him as a grown man, what is she going to say to the other young men that she encounters in her day-to-day experience? If she doesn't even have to show deference to her father, she has to show deference to no man, no matter what position he's in.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is what you're experiencing. Okay, it starts young, and if you don't have to respect your own father, you don't have a duty to respect any man that you ever encounter. Period. Okay, and we got to understand this, man. And sometimes you got to let them loose. Okay, I'll holler at you, but don't ask me for nothing. Okay, don't come to me when you get older. All that family tie relationship stuff, man, it's done. I'll holler at you. You know, I hate to say that. I hate to, to take it to that level. But once you break that trust and once you put forth that disrespect, I know where you're coming from. You have no love for me. You have no respect for me as your father. And the only lesson, the only lessons that can be given in that regard are the women that she's surrounded by. A man is not gonna tell her you can talk to your daddy any kind of way. No man is going to do that. Okay, it's only women that are going to do that. And as far as I'm concerned, man, she got to be cut off. You know what I'm saying? So her mother, I don't want to use any pejorative terminology on your channel, bruh, but hey, look here, bruh. That upset me to the highest degree, bro. And if your own child can disrespect you, it's free for all. It's a free for all. Anybody can disrespect you because your children are supposed to respect you to the utmost. And and I know you want to take the conversation to a high level, and we want to talk about capitalism, colonialism, racism, and feminism, and a whole bunch of isms. But the most visceral relationship that you could ever have is the relationship between you and your child, and you and the woman that you introduce that child into the world with. Those are real relationships, okay? And they're mediated by all of these outside forces. That's evil to me, bro. That little girl right there, man, she's violating the laws of every major religion in the world.
There you go.
There is nothing redeeming about that. No major religious tradition on the planet, if you believe in that. No moral tradition, no ethical tradition that exists permits for that kind of behavior.
Except one.
Yes, except for gynocratic, nonsense.
Feminism. Feminism is a religion. Understand, we're being taught this, men and women are being taught this early. And, Gigi, we discussed it before. I believe that a lot of this pushing men out of homes is really about removing the male influence so that these sorts of indoctrinations can take place on a high level. It sounds like, I'm implying that women are sitting in a secret room and rubbing their hands together. No, it's just like white supremacy. It's code. You understand what I'm saying? It's just a code of a mode of operations that they are operating by. Like we said earlier, is white supremacy. It doesn't have to be something that they sit in the room and corroborate on. It's understood. You understand that in order to raise men to, to move this way, to be indoctrinated with white knight simp culture, you have to get rid of fathers. You have to, because again, they will come in and they will guide it in another direction. You understand what I'm saying? Women will say that they want men to do this, that, and the third. They don't really want that. They want they want to say that. It's like white folks who say, well, black people don't ask the state for anything, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And when we try to, or when we do, they kicking down sandcastles. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and I would say, so I think that, and that's why I'm talking about, and this is very consistent with it. That's why I invoke this example. It's very consistent, I think, with a colonial process. That is that, you know, when you look at domination across the world, man, and you study it, man, whether you talk about, it's particularly, I look at the Spaniards, man. I look at what the Spaniards did in the 15th century, and them going into what we know now as South America and even beyond and what have you, man. And then, you know, the French came, and then the British came, and all that kind of stuff. And the thing is that their whole mechanism of domination involved the elimination of men,
mm-hmm.
and the taking in of women. So you take women in as slaves, you take them as servants or what have you. The dominating men basically possess the dominated woman of the group, and the women learn. The women learn very, very fast. Okay, that if they want to survive, if they want to go forward or ahead, that they have to identify, they have to do everything that the dominating group demands of them. Okay, and so when it comes down to the raising of children and what have you, the idea of a father, man, a father, you can have a dominated man and a dominated woman, and they produce children, but the father role is virtually non-existent. It is erased, because at the end of the day, the real father is the one who sits at the high seat, the one who is that white mastery male and what have you. And I think that this is a generational thing. It has gone on and persisted, and we see this in the 21st century. So here's the thing: you got this girl, and I'm thinking that this young girl was born maybe in 2009. She might have been born in 2010. She might have been born in 2011. She might have been born in 2012.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And she could be 8, 9, 10 years old, and already she has already sucked up the idea that the black male in the United States is worthless, including her father, and he deserves no respect. He has no authority whatsoever. Brothers, this is domination. This is colonization.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's a hell of a thing, man, for your own offspring, man, to dishonor you. And, you know, it is a part of colonization. You know, it's the internalization of racism, but more accurately, it's the internalization of out-group misandry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this little kid, man, you know, is picking up all the cues, man, from all the women around her. This is visceral.
Mm-hmm.
This is in its unadulterated form. There's no thought going into this. This is pure emotion. Okay? This is a gut reaction from a child basically saying, you're worthless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing you can do for me other than what I desire for you to do with me at any given moment. And, you know, my whole thing is pull away. Don't do anything for her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your wish is my command.
Mm-hmm.
Don't come later on asking for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask for no books, no clothes, no shoes, no dresses, no blouses, no panties, no none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like this is ridiculous, man. Now you turning people's children against them. But like Dr. Johnson said, man, you got so many men who will basically support this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and then question whether or not, well, you know, we don't know all of the contextuality of the situation. Now, what you do know is you got a little girl, man, going off on a father, man. That's concubine culture, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna call it what it is.
You don't need
That's concubine, slave-based, dominated, colonialized culture, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to talk the truth about it. We don't want to speak the truth about it because, oh, we got to preserve the feelings of women. They're supposed to be honored just because. Or, you know, children are not to be honored like that, bro. They're to be guided.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
That's,
Children are to be told that's inappropriate.
mm-hmm.
You know, like a kid screaming at you, but I've seen kids scream at their mothers too. Okay, I have. Okay, My daughter screamed at her mother one time.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh man, look, all I gotta do is give my youngest daughter a look. What you say?
Mm-hmm.
And it's done. Ain't no,
Mm-hmm.
and I ain't never laid a hand on it. You understand what I'm saying? But this newfangled attitude, man, but it takes a specific kind of woman to enculturate a child like that.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I know I might be reading too much into it, bro. But at this point, man, I'm just considering that girl as a little bit, man.
That's it.
And it's a BITCH in training, man.
There you go.
Bottom line, it just is what it is. And it's a lot of women out here, man, who are triangulating white supremacy. They feel like they can get closer to whiteness by using the system against you.
Mm-hmm.
That gives them some sort of pleasure. You know what I'm saying? To castrate you, to humiliate you, berate you, make you feel small. What do they get in return for this? An ephemeral feeling of power, but then they isolate themselves, man. Black men need to start isolating these chicks, man. I'm not dealing with you. But too many simps, too many lames.
Yeah.
All they want is a shot of the sweet stuff. And it ain't that sweet, bruh.
But
Not if all that is attached to it. That's a curse, man.
we don't have control of the children. The children are being raised to worship females. It's going to be hard. It's just like it's hard to pull people out of their religious beliefs. It's hard to, because we aren't in position to force our influence over these children. It's hard to combat this simp indoctrination thing because they learn it early. They from young, man. Is the idea that I posted that video on my Facebook page, so I know the video you're talking about, and that video was proof that these young girls are being taught, that there's no respect for men, including their fathers. And the boys are being raised in the opposite manner, right? That is like straight up proof that this is going on for a girl that young to be talking to her father like that. I mean, where else does that come from? And all this, oh, we need context and everything like that. Please, all these people that are talking that nonsense on that post, if it was their kid talking to them crazy like that, they go nuts. They go nuts.
I've seen women slap their children for talking to them disrespectfully. So you mean to tell me he's supposed to sit there and endure that because he having some issue with you?
Yeah, because in our culture, female authority is the norm. It's like the whole T.I. thing, that how dare he be checking behind his daughter. You understand? It's the removal of the black father or the black authoritarian, whatever you want to call it. Any man that has any authority, jurisdiction, has to go. He has to go because that's going to interfere with us being able to invoke this idea onto these children. They want to teach them young, and to be honest, they've succeeded at it. Let's say that's what it is. They've succeeded at it. It's happened already. We are in the aftermath of that. It's happened already. It's not happening. It's not coming. It's done. It's done. You understand? So that's what it is.
You know what though? This is what I'll say though. I think that this is happening to men in general, but it's happening to black men, like a freight train slapping them and punching them. Yeah, not punching them, but rolling over them. Okay, because have you ever seen those movies where you got the white dad and he's living by himself, and his daughter comes and little white girl talking sassy to her daddy? You ever see them kind of movies on TV, man? Look, this culture, man, is out of control. Okay, my dad is a loser. I'm gonna talk to him crazy. You know, like little 16 to 17-year-olds talking to their fathers, man, like they're little boys.
Yes.
You know, and you got to honor your mother and talk to her respectfully, but you don't have to talk to your daddy with any kind of respect at all.
Mm-hmm.
This is Western culture, though. This is a product of Western liberalism, where kids have more power than their parents. And part of the reason why you see this is these child support services programs and all this nonsense with these so-called do-good white women who probably slapping the shit out of their own kids.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Come on, man. You act like these white women ain't slapping their kids, man. All they doing is putting them on timeout, putting them in punishment. Come on, bro.
And the father who asserts any type of authority and discipline and order and what have you is regarded as demonic, as tyrannical, as the bad guy. He is evil. And we have an entire system, family course and what have you, that will be punitive towards him if he exerts the kind of authority that will put this type of disobedience and disrespect in check. We got brother Adam Abraham T in the house. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how y'all doing? Can you hear me okay? Or
I can hear you, brother. What's going on? Holla at us, man.
I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to the discussion. If there's some distortion, please let me know. But just a couple of thoughts that were going through my mind as we were speaking, as you gentlemen were speaking tonight. And I know some people are not Christians and things of that nature, and I totally respect that. I do have a Christian worldview when it comes to a lot of things. One of the things that I was thinking about is how the fatherless generation is literally a curse. It's a curse. When you don't have a father, you don't have a source. You don't have any authority. You don't have any order, and the opposite of order is chaos, and that is exactly what is ensuing the Black community. It's a generation that's in utter chaos. You cannot have a woman run a household. You should never have a woman disciplining your kids, honestly. It should be a man that's disciplining the children. Because a man could be less emotional and more training. Because the word disciple means to train. And without training, you just have emotional ups and downs with kids, and they don't have any real structure. So that's one of the things I was thinking about. The other thing that came to my mind while you gentlemen were speaking as well was, like I said, I know some people are not biblically based, so I gotta take that in respect. But in the book of Exodus, when Moses went to Pharaoh and said, "Let my people go," they had a actual compromise. He said, "I'll let the older generation go, but leave me your kids. Give me your kids, and you guys can go." And going back to what you said earlier, Dr. Neil, in regards to capitalism, is as if we have a group of women in today's society that say, "Okay, we'll go. You can have our kids. Just give us consumerism. Just give us more money. Just give us more of these liberties with chains attached to them, and we'll give you our kids." And the federal penitentiary has our kids, has our men. The system has our girls. It's just utter chaos, and it's heartbreaking. It's just really heartbreaking. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, brother, man. You know, I'm not absolutely into Christianity, but I think he hit the nail on the head, man. But basically what I wanted to draw out was we're witnessing the effects of the absence of strong parental guidance from men, because children who have strong men in their families, they don't act out like that. Okay, because it's put in check from the beginning. Boundaries are established. Okay, so that's one of the benefits of having a father involved in the life of his child. Okay, so they have higher levels of sociability, they have higher levels of confidence, they have higher levels of self-control. They're less likely to act out in school because parameters have been set, boundaries have been established. But when you got kids who are nothing happens but nurturance, no boundaries are set or established. The only thing you're doing is basically encouraging and letting children explore their feelings. Like this whole generation, first of all, I have a philosophical problem with the idea that there's nothing wrong with feelings. Like all feelings are okay. That's never been the case in any moral tradition in the history of the establishment of moral traditions. In fact, the ancient traditions, all they talk about is how to control your passions. Like wrath is wrong, okay? Jealousy is wrong. Envy is wrong, okay? A whole range of feelings and emotions have to be circumscribed. Otherwise, you are a vicious individual. Period.
I
So I
agree.
mean, so there's you can't be too angry. You can't be too deprecating to other people, and too witty is a virtue, but being rash and being an a-hole and just joking all the time, like you feel certain ways at certain times, but you can't always express emotions unfettered. Okay, and this child basically is trying to convince her own father that whatever she feels is okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that's absolutely ridiculous. But that's some new feminist speak, bro. This is the new wave generation, a microwave generation, man.
Yeah,
And I say black men need to divest from it, bro.
absolutely, absolutely.
My fear is in the divest. This is what I believe, and I could be wrong. And so, I mean, I know there's experts in the panel that can lead credence or to these thoughts, but my thought is that within the next 10 to 20 years, maybe 30 years, that there's going to be this complete abandonment of black men to the black community. We're going to be doing our own thing or marrying outside of black American women, and we're just going to see this complete crumbling. This crumbling, or like Dr. Neal said, this attachment of black women to the popular white culture to the point where they're just lost. I mean, it's already happening, so it's not too hard to see it continuing, and then this divergence taking place, where we're doing our own thing, and then the black community, as we know it, is just completely destroyed because of black women.
We've got Ian Graves is with us as well. Mr. Graves, please talk to us, sir.
Hey, man, good to be here, man. Hey, you brothers are on point as usual. And I just wanted to ask, my brother, he married a Mexican woman. All right, so his marriage is great. He started off where this woman basically held him down. He had a felony, for selling crack or whatever, right? I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on the air, but yeah, that happened. So, but she held him down, until he got an education and got a job or whatever, and then gave him the pants, you know what I'm saying? And it's been that way ever since. Unfortunately, me, I got married, to a chick, and it was just, she just wanted to compete, to the end, to the nth degree, all day, every day, to the point to where, where you're going into with a chick, with a little girl. Now, recently, all right, so my kid, I have 2 kids, but they haven't completely written me off, with all the BS going on with my ex-wife or whatever. But there was one incident, man. This was like maybe a couple months ago. My daughter told me that she doesn't prioritize respecting me, right? She, so she said that basically she has to prioritize her school and her career. And so if she disrespects me, not that she does it intentionally, but if she does, in which that case, in that conversation, I called her on it, instead of her apologizing, she said, "Oh, that's just not a priority for me." You know what I'm saying? Right now. He said, listen. I said, oh, okay, so I got a bitch for a daughter, and hung up, and I ain't spoken to her since. I'm like, man, I ain't doing that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't doing that.
Hey, check this out. In response to that, I'm gonna say something that, earlier Gigi said he hates to say this. Well, I don't. I am not opposed to or hating on any dude, 50 Cent on down, who wants to walk away from situations, man, because your sanity is priority. Now, whatever we are told that is like, all this falling on swords nonsense where it's like, no matter what, I'm reading comments under that video where it's like, this is just something a man should never say to his child when he referred to her mother as the one who she learned this from. At the end of the day, it's like Gigi said in the last video, men have this marriage to duty and purpose that is hurting them in the long run. You understand what I'm saying? We're taught this. We're taught that, like I said, our masculinity is tied to these ideas, and if we don't adhere to them, we're not real men. Man, let me tell you something. These women are talking about down with the patriarchy. I say the same thing. Down with it. Because the patriarchy is not healthy for us. Let it fall, let it crumble, and let OnlyFans crumble and everything that these women are deriving from patriarchy. Let it crumble. You understand? Because all of these things, we're fighting to be patriarchal, and I'm talking about benevolently patriarchal.
Yeah.
To these women, and they're rejecting it. So let it fall. These, at the end of the day, these are the same women that will have to crawl back and negotiate because there's nothing for them out there. Yeah, they get their government benefits and things of that nature, but there's no love other places, just other shades of penis. That's all that's over there for them. There's nothing out there for them. So let them have it. The thing, what the gentleman said earlier about, where we're going in a few years' time, as far as like this divide that's coming, I think it'll be gradual because again, like, these women are in control of the minds of the young men. You understand? So unless something like drastic happens to where these men reject their indoctrination, and a lot of them have, and a lot of us have, you know what I mean? But when that rate increases, boys that grow up under this idea that to be a real man is to serve and kiss up to women, the more men, the more young boys reject those ideas because it will be taught to them. By their mother, but then they'll go out into the real world and deal with women. And depending on how quick they come to grips with this, then you'll see that happen. You understand what I'm saying? But it'll take a long time for that to take place because of the fact that women groom young boys. Right now,
well, even too. So simultaneously, my daughter's in a different place than my son. They're both here in the same state. But my son told me recently that his mother was trying to drive him crazy for wanting to have a relationship with me, like literally driving him out of his mind, type of nonsense, So, but it's a good. But I know that my son is going to be all right because of the fact that he told me, because he went out to Arizona to live with her. I'm in Georgia, and he said he had to leave because he saw that she's out of her mind, and he came to realize just how fucked up she is, and this is without me having to tell him anything. He just realized, okay, she's out of her mind. Everything she said about my father is wrong. I'm done.
And this, brothers, I don't know about you guys, but it seems to me that this gives you a different perspective on all of the deadbeat dad ideology that we have been subjected to for the last, 40 some odd years. Okay. And so, we have been told that, Black men basically abandon their children. Not Black men as individuals, but Black men as a group and what have you. What was it? 2010, 2011, the CDC came out with this study talking about black men being most involved and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But here's the thing, man. When you reach a certain age, even if you come up in those type of conditions, so like me in particular, man, I grew up without my father. I grew up in a single parent household. Fortunately, my mother, she was not negative towards my father. My mother always wanted to have a positive, wanted me to have a positive image about my father. But what was interesting is that, see, my mother, my father was in one state, and my mother left after having me, and she moved to a completely different state where her family was. You understand what I'm saying? And I understood, the duties that a father has biologically, what have you. But I also understood as I got older that my mother made choices. That she made a certain decision. She chose to raise me by herself. She felt that she could do it alone, and what have you. And I'm close to 50 right now, and I'm looking at this whole deadbeat dad ideology with a side eye. Okay, because I realized, as I hit 50 and what have you, and even before this time, that it's more complicated. You understand what I'm saying? That you have a culture that has encouraged women to diminish and to erase the authority and the role of fathers in the lives of their children. And I can't help but think that this colonized thinking that we have inherited has something to do with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about but white women started this, man. Okay. It's the white women, man, who basically what they wanted to do was to compete with men in the workforce. Okay. They felt like they were not being paid the same as men, so there was some sort of wage gap, gender wage gap. And as far as I'm concerned, man, these white feminist women wanted to be like men. They wanted the power of men. They didn't necessarily want to destroy the system. The system works perfectly fine for them. It's just that they're not able to have a seat at the table. And they have been demanding this seat at the table. Okay. Now, black women have basically been inculcated with this same ideology that, like our goal in life is to be like a white man. Like, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. See how it works for you in the long run. Basically, what you're doing is you're destroying the lives of children, and you're working contrary to your own benefit. You're taking on a burden that you shouldn't be shouldering alone. But you want to shoulder it alone because you bought into this idea of freedom as you just being able to do what you want to do whenever you want to do it. There's no restraint. It's all hedonism, conspicuous consumption, and neoliberalism, and then anti-black racism all rolled into one big package, man. It's hard to unpack this, but it's just it is what it is. And so black men have to look at it and say, you know what? If I couple myself with this woman and have a child, it might be nice right now, but what happens when she becomes attitudinal and then adopts the viewpoint of the culture at large and uses the system against me, which is encouraged. You have people reinforcing women to operate in this way, okay, and black women in particular. And and I'm like, hey, man, I would tell a young black man right now, I don't have a son, but if I did have a son, I tell him, look here, bro, don't implant your seed in these chicks, man. The soil is barren, bro. You're gonna produce toxic fruit, bro. I'm telling you right now, go somewhere else, go holler at somebody else, man. Because actually, what you're not doing is marrying that woman. You're marrying into a family. Okay, make sure that the family of that woman, man, has the kind of values that you like. Like you can get along with a father, you can get along with a mother, you can get along with a brothers, all of that. Like if you can have a good relationship with those people, you'll be able to have a good relationship with her. Maybe, okay, maybe.
But where things change as far as the suffragettes go, when they ramped up the propaganda, and a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people haven't spoken on this, but I saw pictures, right? You know, there was a time when PBS they did a story on the history of the feminist movement, right? Just I think just this year, right? And what they showed like thousands and upon thousands of women out in the street. But here's the thing, though. Those same white women, entitled white women that came from families of slave owners and so on and so forth, they could not have done it except for the fact that over almost 100 million white people came to America between 1800 and 1920, right? Over 100 million. So that means the stock market, right? The stock market crashed, and to some degree came about because we had such a drain on the social infrastructure that, you know, we could not just support this 100 million poor white people coming from Europe. So what happened was feminism had to be pushed, right, more heavily, because they needed to do something with all these white women, right? You had all these white women mouths to feed, and like, so the government's like, man, we can't just, we can't have all these, all these white people on welfare, which is where white welfare came into being too, for all these poor Europeans. But feminism was pushed because they needed these at least 50 million white women to go to work.
And then when you compound that with World War One and World War II and the need for additional labor, female labor, that just basically added on to what exactly you're saying right now. But the thing is that, men. So here's the thing. So again, you have men. We talk about this, and I don't talk about this a lot, but I hear the guys. Kevin continues to repeat this, and other people. You're talking about these black men who are not married, black men who are childless, and what have you. And what we have to deal with, and Marcus Aurelius is not married. He doesn't have any children.
Nope.
And the thing is that you have to ask yourself the question, well, why? We're not aberrations now. Okay. The idea is that most black men are like Lil Boosie, or that most black men are like Nick Cannon. You know what I'm saying? Loose cannons, planting their seeds everywhere. You understand what I'm saying? But the reality is that you have a significant chunk of black men who are saying no, that the juice is not worth the squeeze, and we are not going to take this risk. We're not going to gamble, because all of these conditions that we're talking about right now do not, in the long run, benefit black men. And you got black men who are on strike, black men who are not dealing with this because they don't want to surrender to this entire colonized process. What you guys think about that?
Well, hey, look, Doc. This is what they do. When you opt out of the system, what's the first thing they call you?
Weak.
No, they call you gay or weak. Okay, why you ain't got no kids?
Oh my.
Because of you.
Well, Dr. Neil, I'm gonna jump on something you said a couple of weeks ago when you talked about your trip back from Brazil. And the first thing I thought to myself, there's black women in Brazil? And I started learning Portuguese. And then I thought to myself, I can find a black woman in Africa. I can find a black woman in South America. I'm not going to deal with somebody that got 2 or 3 baby mamas, going to try to curse me out, trying to take me to the divorce court. And I'm not going to deal with it. So, I mean, I'm along with you. I'm like, I'm single. I don't got no kids. I'm not, homosexual. I mean, that's just not my lifestyle. I'm like, but I don't see anybody that's worth marrying. I don't see anybody that's worth having my last name. I don't see anybody that's worth me having a child with that's not going to give me drama. I'm like, I don't do the weave. I don't do all the other craziness. It's just not me, man. So,
Good choice.
There's a lot of other brothers like out there just like me too. I'm not the only one, like you said. There's a whole gang of us. just like this. So.
But these women have behavioral problems because they don't have fathers.
Mm-hmm.
It's already scientifically and empirically driven evidence that exists that shows when these kids don't have boundaries, they externalize their problems.
Yes.
This is what you're seeing. This is the psychological component as opposed to the political component. You're seeing people who don't have filters.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It just is what it is. These people women have no filters, and then they're also coddled.
Emotionally driven.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And think about it. I want y'all to think about this. So I've been reading a lot of stuff. So we've had this so-called recent crime wave. Every summer. I mean, summer months. Summer months are the months where everybody goes buck wild, right?
Yeah.
People are out of school, and people don't have summer jobs, and they don't have nothing to do, and everything like that. And the jokers who walk around here, with guns, with AR-15s, with all kinds of weapons or whatever, shooting people who look like them. You know what I'm saying? We know where they come from, right?
Yeah, single
We
mother.
know the background, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And even the females. So now, and Gigi and Hasan have been dealing with this for quite some time now, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not just the males, right? It's also the females. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we had a situation recently, man. A young woman out of Ohio, young girl, not woman, but a young girl, a teenager who lost her life at the hands, with the gun of a police officer because she was in conflict with some other females and some other adults. You know what I'm saying? Which just showed a complete lack of structure and discipline and everything. And even the males who were involved in that situation, they basically deferred. They just stood back and watched. They were spectators and all that kind of stuff. And they just struck me as just basically colonized males who just, were subordinated to the gynocracy, who are afraid to step in or what have you. And I ain't gonna lie, a lot of those fears are warranted. You know what I'm saying? If you see, a conflict between a black man and a black woman, or if you see conflict between a black woman and another black woman, where emotions are flaring and all that kind of stuff, you are working at a level of self-preservation by not intervening in that situation. And at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, where is the order? Where is the structure? And here's the thing. I'm thinking that we getting ready to see a whole new wave of crime bills, a whole new wave of crime legislation coming out of the Biden administration, Biden Harris. I'm thinking that we might see a whole new level of laws and policies that seek to do what fathers are supposed to do. What y'all think about it?
Hey,
I wanted to say something real quick about the incident you just talked about. It's funny, when that video came out, I saw a lot of comments from women talking about, oh, those men just stood by and watched it happen. They didn't do anything about it, right? And I hear Ian, I hear you laughing. And it's just interesting to me how we're damned if we do, damned if we don't, right? You involve yourself in situations, then you're patriarchal, you're oppressive, and this and that and the third, and you should mind your business, et cetera, et cetera. But when you stand by and mind your business, then you're supposed to hand down the authority in those situations, right?
So listen, so Marcus, so have you guys seen the video of the LGBT black male professor who was saying that Frederick Douglass was a toxic patriarch because he basically he was lending his star power to black women feminists, right? And he said So basically, he said for him trying to help black women by using his star power, he was being toxic. So that's damned if you do, damned if you don't. This is a guy in the academy teaching this to people.
We've seen. Hold on. We've seen that recently. We've seen feminists eat their male enablers. We see it all the time. You know, women, these black feminists, and you know, even these single mothers. I think that at this point they have basically embraced, sacrificing whether it be black culture, black community, and the futures and well-beings of their children for their ability to move or do as they like and have freedom and this, that, and the other, and to the point where even now they want to shame anyone who has an opinion about what they do. I was talking to this one chick. I was like, at this point, y'all think men's opinions against what you do is oppression.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have the freedom to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can stop you from doing it. Like with the whole bonnet thing, right? You can wear bonnets. There's no law against it. Men can't stop you, especially black men. But you feel oppressed that we don't agree with it.
Yeah.
And now our feelings against what you do is a problem and it's oppressive to you. Just our opinion is oppressive.
Yeah.
This is why I said, I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
No. So again, that's all of these things that they're throwing away, even their physical appearance, they're throwing away for the idea of freedom. I can wear a rag on my head in public, regardless of how you feel and say about it. They're doing that at the risk of looking like idiots. Ratchet. You understand what I'm saying? Go ahead, bro.
No, one of the things I growing up, and one of the things that I realized early on is one of the worst punishments somebody can give you is to allow you to do whatever it is you want to do. And at first, it doesn't seem like a punishment, but it really is. Think about it this way. These women want to do whatever they want to do, have these kids, stuff like that, right? And I'm going back to your point, Dr. Neil, about the crime bills are coming. Now we got a generation of kids with no parents. There's more prisons. There's prisons being built now to house more female inmates than there was before. We still have a crime problem. And guess how the government's going to solve it by, like you said, being their father, by arresting these kids. The 13th Amendment is still in effect. You're going to be somebody's slave. We're raising a generation of kids that are going to end up being somebody's slave in one way or the other, and it's going to be laden on the shoulders or the hips of their moms because they won't listen to anybody. Nobody can tell you anything. So when disaster comes and your kids start getting killed and start getting arrested, the men that don't have any kids, how are we going to be invested in your pain and your problems? Those are not our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your kids.
Well, the psychological aspect that's adjacent to that is where Marcus was saying, where you can't have an opinion about the bad things that women do, but women raise sons. So we know the women are out there doing their thing, but I'm especially concerned about black males because that's what we're concerned about.
That's the collateral damage. But
we don't understand though that these women, they're raising sons to also have that same mentality. Like so in this day and time, not only can you not check females, but you cannot check their sons either. You see what I'm saying? You can't have an opinion about what they do. So they're walking around with guns, looking at everybody like, okay, do you have an opinion about me? I'm gonna shoot your ass. That's
and that's why the crime bills are coming.
That's it.
But bro, let me talk to the gentleman down there. also understand that, yeah, these aren't our children, but you know, with all this push for men to deal with women, you know, with children, you know, who are not our children, all this shaming and all this indoctrination that's happening. So, you know, if you don't believe in it, you're being shamed. And, you know, there's guys who are raised to think this way. I mean, if you're worried about, or if you're saying that, you know, well, men won't care about the kids, well, they're being coerced to.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I don't want to sound like I don't care, because trust me, when I see these kids out here, the first thing I want to do is like, there's a better way for you. But I understand, like you said, there's a high level of risk.
Understand?
There's a high level of risk, and so it's like, how do you?
You feel bad for not caring, bro?
Yeah, because I do care. I care because these 14, 15 years old. I got a nephew, 20 years old, and thank God he's not out here in these streets trying to act wild. But I'm like, you're the exception. You're not the rule these days. So it's like, what can you do when your parents won't listen, your moms won't listen? They don't take you to parent teachers conferences when you're having problems. There's nobody there to really guide you, to protect you, to lead you, unless you join some type of sport. What do you do? What can we do?
That's why Dr. Neal just asked the question. Don't you think that Biden and Harris are planning a government solution to the problems that are left because of the vacancies of black men being involved in the lives of their children? Now, we already know, look, if you remove the man, you're going to have a whole set of pathologies that come from that.
Yeah.
All right. So it's been asserted that, okay, the presence of men in and of itself is unjust. Like, the familial arrangement has been reworked in the minds of contemporary liberal society. Okay. So now we don't have to have mononuclear families anymore. We don't need parental coalitions to raise children. We can contract that work out to bureaucracies and to governmental institutions. They can handle the job better and leave women to do more important work, which is to make money for white folks, a small subset of them, which is essentially that's what this is all about. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not aware of it, you need to become aware of the fact that see, this is the thing that's really weird to me, though, and I thought about it while I was in the kitchen, and I wanted to say something about it, but the thought just re-entered my head. Okay, you got a group of elite white women doing this so-called suffragette movement and second wave feminist movement, who wanted to be able to do what men were doing in relation to working, okay? And having the sort of esteem and the sort of freedom and liberty that men had, okay? In relation to working. Because it was the rich women who didn't have to work, okay? But they wanted to work because their identities, I guess, you know, were constrained within the context of being homemakers. But most European women throughout the history of Europe, man, they work, bro. Whether in the agricultural farming or feudal societies, they work, bro. When it came to the turn of the industrial era, they still work. Like wait a minute, bro. The textile industries, 70 to 80% of that industry was the workforce was comprised by women.
Yeah.
So this whole idea that women have never worked, they haven't been able to make money, and they weren't able to go out into the world and do anything. This is a story that has no nuance. It's not based in historical truth or fact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you did a video with Camille Paglia talking about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, women, but I did a series of videos about like whether or not the women's movement was a disaster. And then I had her on, and I did a video about her talking about careerism and how it's become a cult in this culture. But careerism is nothing but neoliberalism in disguise. Okay, you got a group of women who perceive their goal in life as to do what white men have traditionally done. but white men felt obligated to take care of their families. But the difference though between women going out and being careerists is that a woman will feel like she doesn't need a man, but a man will do it in order to take care of an entire family.
I spoke on this. I got a video up called Cinderella Complex, right? Understand this. These women that are going for these degrees and you know, for this income and this and that and the other, this is not something that they're doing for survival. They're not chasing these degrees and incomes to become higher earners for their, you know, to support themselves. They're doing it, you know, I think maybe Kevin Samuel said this is an ego project, and that's directly connected to what this woman wrote in 1971, you know, called Cinderella Complex. So what you mentioned earlier, Gigi, about rich white women wanting to work it really was about having to ask their husbands for money to buy the new dress or this, that, or whatever. That's why you see a lot of these women saying they want a man that pays all the bills while they themselves get an income. So they don't have to actually work for an income to support themselves. Their money is recreational. You understand what I'm saying? So they have freedom, financial freedom from their husbands while being kept women. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what that's really about. I want to address Dr. Neal's point about the state coming in to deal with. At the end of the day, again, that's a sacrifice that Black women are making. They're sacrificing their children for this false idea of freedom. You know, and that's including letting the state come in and deal with, you know, their children, et cetera, et cetera. Like they you know, you show them stats on, you know, single motherhood, because I know women that I've had this conversation with, and they're like, well, you know what, since I ain't getting married, I might as well just have these kids single, and you know, they done begged a bunch of motherfuckers for sperm, and you know, pardon me for the profanity, but you know, at the end of the day, it's like they, in light of this information, don't care. They want to do what they want to do, and no man can't tell me. It's almost like they'll sabotage their own future, their own lives, and the lives of their children, despite any sort of idea of male control.
Yeah.
Right.
So y'all think about this, man. So, you know, Clarence Thomas is the longest serving member of the court right now. Okay. And I'm reading books, recent books that have been published on Clarence Thomas. There's a white political scientist who just wrote a book on Clarence Thomas. It's called The Enigma of Clarence Thomas. His name is Corey Robin. At any rate, this guy talks about Clarence Thomas's judicial philosophy, and he talks about Black men and fatherlessness and all of that, and the state and everything. And this is true, man. You study Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas is merciless when it comes down to fatherlessness. Okay. Clarence Thomas deeply believes that in the absence of fatherly authority, in the absence of all the stuff we're talking about, that the state must impose a patriarchal order, and that patriarchal order is the prison. It's incarceration. And it says that when you have a large number of males who have been raised in these conditions, who are seemingly out of control and chaotic, that the state must function as that punitive father, and that's the role of the prison in the United States. You know, and it seems though is that that's exactly what we've been living out in the crime bills. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that we don't see a more punitive expression of crime bills, you know, coming forward. But the reality is that there's going to be a push for more crime bills,
of course.
And we're going to see more punitive action, man. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to see, you know, this type of judicial legislative philosophy being enacted. That is, if you don't have fathers in the home, if you don't have that authority, then the warden the attorney general of the United States, the attorney general, whatever, the state attorney, all right, was going to enact legal decisions, and judges also, that will put these boys in hell. Now, because the girls are unruly too, right? So it's going to put everybody in check. People who don't have fathers, who don't have order, who don't have discipline, they're going to get a real father in terms of prisons, detention, all that kind of stuff. What y'all think about that?
But that's the unforeseen effect of trying to, institute this social order devoid of traditional family structure. And look, I'm not in agreement with the conservatives on a whole host of issues, especially as it pertains to race, okay? Because I think they downplay race a lot. But I think what they do this right is they demonstrate empirically what you're trying to do is usher in cosmic justice to such an extent that you don't know what the negative externalities are going to be from you doing this. Okay, so we know that family structures work in the development of children and has done so for millennia. We know what works. Okay, it might not be perfect. There might be some negative aspects associated with it for certain members of the family. Okay, not giving women any power at all in the context of the family structure might be oppressive. Okay, so what do we do in order to adjust for that? We create the conditions where women don't need men at all, and we discourage, their involvement in family structures, and we create the conditions in which they, are rearing children on their own. It was absolute stupidity from the beginning, but at least the conservatives could see. Okay, even the Catholics saw this. Like, look, big government is not the answer to every ailment that plagues society. Sometimes they have to adjust themselves. You can't just throw money at the issue with these impersonal, technocrats and expect for the problems to be solved. Okay, but once you set up a bureaucracy and a group of people who are dedicated to the ideology that preserves that bureaucracy, man, it's like pulling teeth to dismantle it. Okay, and so right now what you have is people on the left. I think the left, they have gone too far. They're too idealistic. They're not looking at what the consequences of their actions are. Okay? And at the end of the day, they've created all of these impersonal forces, these institutions that are supposed to remedy problems that really have nothing to do with other than the breakdown of the social fabric of the culture in and of itself. Like the changing of the conditions of family life have wrought hell on American culture, Western culture in general. It's going to be the undo. This will be, I guarantee you, this will be the undoing of Western society, bro. Let them go ahead and do what they're doing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Let me ask you this. So does that mean that the Department of Education is part of that bureaucracy? Because you had John Taylor Gatto. He wrote about this. He wrote about how the history, the underground history of American education and all that. And he talked about how the truancy laws or whatever came into effect. They the police and whatever, they came onto the farms, and this first happened in Maine. Them white fathers, they pulled out their guns and they was like, nah, you ain't taking my son off of the farm, off of the family business. I'm gonna teach my son everything he needs to know. You know what I'm saying? So we have to consider, is education itself is, and the primacy of education, is that also a tool, to destroy the family?
Oh man, look, Black education prior to desegregation, it might not have been perfect, but it's better than what it is now. Because you got to think, I'm just saying, like, what are these kids learning in these schools, bro? I'm just asking a question. Like, anybody can answer this. You have left it over to the state and municipalities in all around America to educate your children. Okay, you don't know what these teachers are teaching these kids. The kids are having disciplinary problems because they're coming from broken homes. Okay, these kids, man, are basically being miseducated.
I wouldn't say it's better or worse. I would say it's the same. But I'm gonna say something else. I reject the idea that women in a household where a man is the breadwinner has zero power. You know, I reject that idea. But getting back to what you were saying just now, you was talking about schools before desegregation. But those schools run down. No, they were worse than the schools we have now. They were like, I'm not saying that our schools that we have now are great, but the school I went to growing up, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure that the schools that I went to growing up were better than the schools that existed before desegregation.
Mm.
Understand this, right? A lot of times I hear people say, integration is the worst thing that happened. Understand at that time they were fighting for integration, even though they didn't understand what the effects of integration would be, but they were fighting for integration because segregation was not equal. Like the stuff that they were dealing with under segregation was trash, bro.
Mm.
It was really bad for them, for you, for anyone to go back in that time and see what they were dealing with, for them to have to push the issue of integration.
It's a catch-22.
Well,
Yes.
see, look, I've always been a proponent. I've said, look, what they did at the time was seek the politics of recognition. So, I mean, they basically were living in an apartheid regime. Anybody would resist against that. And I get it. Okay. Now, there's a difference between quality related to, okay, well, do we have the facilities, right, that are commensurate with that of white folks? Probably not. Okay. But what you did have was black teachers who actually lived in communities who cared about black kids learning, as opposed to what you have now is, you got these white women, man. Primary and secondary education is, for the most part, governed by white women, man. So you tell me, little Miss Fanny back in the 50s and 60s teaching a black kid, like Thomas Sowell, the kind of education that he got from black women. You know what I'm saying? Like back when he was young. Okay. Think about the kind of education that Carter G. Woodson got, or that Dr. Ernest Everett Just got, or like a whole host of men, who lived during the Harlem Renaissance. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it wasn't perfect by any measure. Okay. And were they, living in an apartheid regime? Yes. Should it have been resisted against? Yes. Okay. But to hand over the reins of children's education from the black community to white women and white men who really don't care about facilitating their cultural understanding, their political understanding, and really actually nurturing and encouraging these kids to be the best that they can be, that was an unforeseen consequence of integration.
Well, it destroyed their intellectual capacity.
I agree with that. I agree with that, the way you said it. I was just talking about, as far as the conditions, this, that, and the third. I think that more so that was a Southern thing. I don't know where Thomas Sowell derives from, but like most of that, the fight for desegregation was a Southern thing. So when you say Harlem Renaissance, you're talking about like the Northeast.
Oh, but I mean, them people, they still, like, don't get it twisted, man. Like, you from New York. That place was segregated as well. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day. It wasn't like like you're a black man, you could just waltz your way up, to upstate, you know what I'm saying, New York, and just you chilling, you know what I'm saying? No, bro.
No, I'm not saying
down there as well.
It was different than what was down south, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mississippi and Alabama are unique, man. Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, those are some places, man, you don't want to get caught. But
let me posit this. You know, what's her name? The lady that worked for George Bush.
About Condoleezza.
Condoleezza. She had a oil tanker named after her. You know, y'all didn't even know that. But anyways, she grew up. You know the four little girls that died in the bombing, right?
Yeah.
One of those girls was her best friend.
Yeah.
So here's what education does. Education takes a little girl whose friend was bombed, and education turns her into that individual. You see what I'm saying?
but that Condoleezza Rice had a world-class education, though.
That's what I'm saying.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a world-class education.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have to agree. So I mean, when you look at the silent generation, even the boomers, man, who many of us, and Gigi included, we were educated by. They were tight. I'm not gonna. I mean, my teachers who came up out of the era, even my mother, she went to FAMU and everything, and she grew up in those segregated schools, and she got something. She didn't get the same thing as white people, but it was, I think, in comparison to what we're talking about in the 21st century, I think it was better. Okay. And we're dealing with something that's very different, man. Education particularly, I would say after the 1980s, particularly public education, and even after 1980s, man. I think it just fundamentally changed because Black people viewed education in a way, in those generations, in a very different way from the way in which we understand education. Okay, and I would say that in light of Carter G. Woodson and the miseducation of the Negro, which he wrote in the 1930s. You know what I'm saying? And so they had certain advantages, a certain depth that is not comparable to what these kids are doing. These kids are just poor. They are not educated. These kids are just off their check. They don't know a damn thing, man. I'm telling you.
But you know, Ron O'Neal, that's a good point, because at a certain point, and what you're talking about when you're talking about education, you're talking about and Gigi talking about a world education. So before, education was tied into actual experience. You see what I'm saying? Education wasn't such a theoretical undertaking as it became, you know. And so when education was tied to actual experience, yes, it empowered, you know, but then when it was used, you know, instead as a way, you know, where the department head of the Department of Education, he says, you know, I want the students to become cogs in a wheel. I don't want them to become Einstein. I want them to become cogs in a wheel. So he put that in motion, but it really didn't catch hold, like you said, until the 70s. You know, the vision that he had of having these cookie cutter robots coming out of school.
And then we also have to think about, the impact of feminism on education, man.
Yes.
You know, after 1960, 68, you know what I mean? And so, I mean, we're talking about, and again, this stream is about Black men and colonization, and a lot of the stuff that we're contending with has to do with the way in which feminism has informed education. I mean, feminism influenced sex education, okay, in public schools. I mean, feminism influenced, you know, colleges and universities at so many levels, man. I mean, even, you know, those of us, you know, Gigi can attest to this, man, you know, who are under 50, who were in graduate school in the 90s, early 2000s, man, we couldn't get around that stuff. You know what I mean? And so when the feminists, and think about this, women have always been the main educators. They have always been basically the foot soldiers of public education and the like. You know, before white women dominated it, it was black women. You know what I mean? And you have black men were in there as well. You know, they were principals, they were administrators and all that kind of stuff. But you had generations of black people up until, you know, maybe the late 1980s who were educated mainly by black women. And then after that, you just had this shift where black women abandoned education. They start going into other professions such as law. They went into communications. They went into other things in search of profit and greater opportunities. You know, and when that happened, you know, I think a major shift that happens. You know what I mean? So you have, you know, educational advocates, people like Zankara, you know, Jabbar, who's based in DC. Many of us know her. She's an activist and everything like that. And she's just always talking about educational policy and what have you. And at the core of her issues are like, you know, you have white middle class teachers who are teaching black kids.
Right.
And they're being impacted by the, you know, and black males are being, you know, left at the wayside because these teachers don't think that they can be educated, and they see black boys as disciplinary problems, and so they're housed in special ed and all this kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So feminism as a colonizing force, you know, is a very real thing, you know, from K through 12 to higher education, man. And then it goes even beyond that, man, you know, into popular culture and politics and everything. And so, you know, we're dealing with this. We're dealing with the Goliath, man. We're dealing with a King Kong, even a Godzilla, you know, when it comes down to ideology. And its impact on black people and black women in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, the only thing I wanted to point out was that, you know, you had an organic system of education for black kids prior to desegregation. You had first of all, black people were still getting married. Okay. The industry, you know, where men who could graduate from high school can go right into a job and get a profession, get a pension. Those jobs hadn't dried up or hadn't been, you know, shipped off overseas yet. Okay. So we were still within an industrial based economy. Okay. A Fordist economy where if you work someplace, you can make enough money to actually buy the products that you put together. Okay. All of that changed, man. You know, as I came of age, man, when I graduated from high school, which is 89, the economy had already begun to shift. You had already began to see this competition that America was having with Japan. And you know, it was like this trade war. How are we going to beat them, you know, in relation to car products, electronic products? Then you get Silicon Valley popping up. You know, it's just like, okay, so America's involved in this trade war with Asia. And the Cold War had already, you know, pretty much after Reagan tore down the Berlin Wall, man. I mean, it was pretty much a wrap with the Cold War. They felt like they had won, but then they had to, you know, face these economic threats, so to speak. But the casualties of that war, this economic war, where these jobs were shipped overseas, and we shift to a service-based economy. So where does that leave black men? It leaves us it leaves us out in the cold. Because now you can't go from high school and go get a high quality job. Now you got to go to college, okay? And with the advent of white folks taking over the custodial role of being teachers for black kids, man, it's been tragic.
Yeah.
They're not giving us the skills requisite for us to be able to do what we need to do. Then you couple that with the Great Society programs that basically split the family apart, which is what, I mean, that's where it starts, bro. Okay, that's where the split of the family comes in. Okay, and then of course you got the advent of feminism and these rich white women who, like Betty Friedan. you got to look at Betty Friedan, man, and her education. This woman went to Smith College, man. It's like an elite white woman's college.
Yes.
Okay. And she had a husband, man, I'm pretty sure that dude was banking, bro. Okay. And she opted out of that relationship, maybe because probably she had some antisocial behavior herself. Who knows? I don't know. Okay. But I know her ex-husband said, man, this woman was violent and ignorant as hell. So most of what Black women take on as ambitions have nothing to do with their lived experience. And this is the problem with ideology and taking up philosophical points of view without having the, accurate historical analysis of where those perspectives come from and who actually holds those perspectives and what for. So now you're taking on the tack of elite white women in order to do what? Black women have always been out there working. Even the regular, average, run-of-the-mill, uneducated white woman was working, bro.
Mm-hmm.
These are the facts, man. So
They made them do it.
Well, by superimposing an ideology and teaching it everywhere, it's ubiquitous. Now, man, they've made it. They have permeated every aspect of Western culture with this shit right now. So if you turn on your TV, you're gonna see it. You go to school, it's middle school, high school, grade school, or elementary school. You're gonna see it. Okay, it's in books, movies, television shows, comics now, man, like Loki and shit. Like it's Star Trek. It's everywhere now.
Yeah.
So there's like, but they think it's revolutionary, but all it is a new shift in neoliberal distribution. That's all this is, man.
Well, it could be, as you said, it could be attached to the trade war. So in order to win a trade war, you have to have consumers. So I guess part of the reason, the push for feminism, and where you have a lot of the feminist rights, basically turn women into super consumers. So therefore, shit, you could beat out any country. If you get all the women working and buying the products, that's a win.
Yeah, well, women were going to buy products, man, regardless, man. You're going to get the money from your husband or whatever. You're going to spend some money. Women going to spend money anyway. Okay. Here's the thing. I haven't thought a lot about it. I haven't thought a lot about this, man, but women, man, have basically opted to take on a bigger burden than they can handle. And let them fall and crash and burn like a comet, man. I mean, well, not like a comet, like a meteorite. Let them crash and burn, bro. Let them destroy the community. Because right now,
basically,
all it is a self-fulfilling prophecy, man. It's going to be cyclical at this point. The damage has been. Now, I'm telling you who's responsible. It wasn't just the choices of Black women that were responsible initially. It wasn't. Okay, I did a whole show about this, about thug and welfare culture and how it came to pass. I told you the thug culture is connected to the prison culture, okay? And that the welfare culture is connected to bureaucracies. And like the brother said before, they manage Black men through the carceration state or the carceral state. They manage women through bureaucratic institutions, okay? Now they manage them through education, okay? Because if any Black woman that goes to college, man, she's going to be hit with Patricia Hill Collins, Kimberly Crenshaw, Betty Friedan, Gloria Steinem. Shit, she going to get hit with the New Jacks too. She going to get hit with your girl, man.
Hooks.
Well, she old school. Bell Hooks is old school. She going to get, she going to get hooked with Cooper.
Oh my God.
They're gonna get hit with Cooper.
Oh no.
Christy Dawson. They're gonna get hit with all the Black feminists too, man. The New Jack Black feminists, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, and look, I've met some of these people and talked with them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, look, all you can do is tell them, look, man, I don't agree with that shit you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? My brothers keep us taking away stuff from Black girls. I'm like, wait a minute. How is black men having some sort of program allocated to deal with their issues taken away that already lets you know how they think? This is about interest group pluralism. It's about people fighting over scarce resources or positions or jobs. Tommy Curry was talking about this shit, man, 7, 8 years ago. And I was like, well, Tommy, you know, we might need to, you know, be more communicatively, what did I call it at the time? I call it reciprocitous. We need to be more reciprocitous in the way we talk to the black feminists, because what we need to do is to try to find a way to bridge the gap. But then I realized ideologically, they're not going to try to bridge the gap. They don't desire to bridge the gap.
Damn,
they
you
desire
said
to
that,
keep
you
this shit
said
up.
that, GG?
They are here for middle ground, fam.
Bruh, well, at the end of the day, what I was thinking was, in order to try to save the black community, we need to engage in conversation, dialogue that's long overdue. And maybe perhaps we can iron out our differences by not being offensive to one another. Okay, and Tommy Curry's not really offensive. They just don't like the fact that he talks in a matter-of-fact tone. They want to tone police him. Because he never says anything ignorant about black women. Now, notice you go back and watch any video Tommy Curry does, you're not going to really see him speaking really tough about black women like that. Now, he will talk about black feminists and their ideals, because he doesn't do a lot of ad hominem bullshit. Okay?
AG.
Yeah.
There is no saving the black community. It's over, bro. I hate to say it. It's over.
Bro,
I got a few more things to say. I want you to feel me.
Right.
Everything that we discussed earlier in Dr. Johnson's video, and even on to this one, understand, we've been talking about these things for some years now, and I've been talking about these things since high school. Understand, they're not with it. They're not with it. They done been bought and paid for. It's done. It's done. There's no negotiation to be had. It's over. I hate to talk like this, but it's facts. At the end of the day, you understand what it's like. What the brother said earlier. You're gonna have more men deciding to walk away, and that's going to be a slow process, because again, they control the indoctrination of young men and women. But understand, they have the state on their side, and nobody with power cedes power willingly. That's just how humanity works, period. So
I agree. I agree.
With that being said, it is done. It is finished. There's nails in the coffin, and it's descending into the hole. It's over. So where we are now is, what do we do? Period. Because it's not about saving them. It's not about do you even want to, G? Do you even want to save it?
Bro, look, I'm telling you what I thought. I said the opposite term being thought. Past tense.
No. I understand that. I understand.
At this point, right now, here's my thing, right? If I'm looking at a chessboard, right, and I see the white team, which is unfortunate that I even have to use this analogy. I'm the black team, and I see players on the white team about to checkmate me if I don't block, a row or a file with one of my pieces. I have to make the move to do what I have to do to preserve my team, okay, or to prevent the checkmate. If that means that I have to employ a strategy that's all about me, and to say to hell with these children, because it's going to cause me psychic strain, and to hell with these women, because they've already decided that they're not on my team, then I gotta let them go.
So let me ask this question. This is a question I want to pose to everybody on the panel. Post black community, where are we? Where do we go next? What is the future of SYSBM? How does one save himself? What is the next thing to do? Because again, right now we're talking about the Vietnam War. Might as well be. You understand what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, this is Desert Storm. This is World War II or One. You know, where Hitler in this Germany is done. It's over. So at this point, what is the next move like for Black men post Black community, post Black culture, post the bullshit? You understand what I'm saying? So what's the next state of affairs for men like us? Fuck the simps or whoever else we want to give a title to. What is the next
Ronald Neal,
like
what is
us?
the answer?
He already
Man,
know.
you are.
Just rattle off them BMs, man.
There you go, BMI, Black Men Independence, Black Men's Independence, you know, and the globe, man. We have the globe, man. It's the world, man. The world is very big, and we just cannot be limited to the borders of the United States. And I say that knowing that, you know, there are Black men who don't have the wherewithal to leave the U.S., but you know, even, you know, for a variety of reasons and all that. But I think it's important for Black men to maintain a global type of perspective on the world. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that, you know, I mean, if you want to be with a Black woman, I mean, Black women are all over the world, man. They are all over the world. I told you, y'all saw how excited I was when I went to Brazil and all that kind of stuff. I'm going back to Brazil. But you know, Africa, the Caribbean, and here's, it is not to say that women are without flaw, error, you know, all over the world. You know, they're human beings everywhere. You know, you understand what I'm saying? And so the thing is that, you know, Black men just need to recognize that, you know, in terms of history, man, I mean, civilizations, they rise and they fall, they disappear, they collapse, all that, groups. And this is hard for us as Black people. And that's why, you know, even with Black nationalism, I have to, you know, critique it, because, you know, you really have to come to terms with the historical just realities of human beings, man. You know, cultures change, they adapt, they go forward. We had you know, I think there are Black people that I'm not, let me say this, I'm not announcing the complete demise of Black people. I'm not saying it happily, you know, Black people in the United States, but, you know, when you study history, man, when you study history, it's just a fact that there are transitions, there are changes, you know, there are groups of people who existed. So, you know, again, the Spaniards went into South America, man. They went into the Caribbean, what we know as the Caribbean today, what we know as South American today, and they completely decimated entire populations, man. People that no longer exist. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that we just surrender to it, but I mean, you can't escape certain historical realities, and you have to accept. It's a bitter pill. Yeah, it's a freaking black pill that you have to accept. You know what I'm saying? Is that you have your run, and that's it, and you move on.
Yeah, we lost. The war's over. And Doc, I want to say this because, you know, this is the first time I've been on the stream with you since you've come back from Brazil. As a man who has flown abroad myself, understand, for everybody in the chat, if you have not traveled outside of this MFA, you need to do it. I've done it, and understand, like, I went to DR, you know, he's been to Brazil, which is like the real deal. DR is like the wannabe Brazil. But when you go to these places, understand you are not black, you are American. You understand what I'm saying? And that comes with a different type of like royal treatment. You understand? In these places, you are not treated like a black person. You're treated like someone from the States. You are American. You are top of the food chain. You understand? And whether it's real or fake, understand, because when I told one of the guys on Facebook, hey, you know, in DR it's like this and like that, and, you know, he was like, oh, those girls are only dealing with you because you got money. I'm like, bro, they only deal with you because you got money here. The difference is down there, you get what you're paying for.
You get more. You get more than what you pay for.
You get more than what you pay for. Let me tell you, in America, right? Women will tell you, well, in order for you to get with me, you got to do this and you got to do that. And when you do this and do that, you get nothing. Imagine going to McDonald's, right? And there's a sign that says Big Mac 99 cents and you pay the 99 cents. And now the cashier is looking at you like, what are you waiting for? I'm waiting for my Big Mac. I paid 99 cents. Oh, you think you supposed to get a Big Mac because you gave me 99 cents? And that's what women will tell you. Oh, you think because you did the things that I said men need to do to be with me, I'm supposed to be with you. But see, again, you go to these places, it's a different thing. You are Drake, you are LeBron, you are whatever celebrity you want to name when you're in these places. I've been to DR. These girls poke their head in the car that you're in. They chase you down. They touch you. They grab you. I don't know what your experience was, Doc, but understand my experience, and it's bigger than the women. The whole environment is catering to you, and it's funny, and I hate to say it like this, but it's almost like a whiteness because you're American and you come down there and they know who you are on sight. They know that you do not belong in that environment and you are foreign to them, and foreign to them is money, because where they are is poverty, and they know what poverty doesn't look like, and it looks like you. You understand? So again, like, if you haven't done this, if you haven't have had people like, you know, shine your shoes without you asking, and I'm being very literal when I say this. If you haven't had, the treatment with, you know, like women are like really on you, like it's that type of thing. Like, you need to fly out of here. I went down there and I bumped into a couple cats because I'm a photographer, you know, and I know other photographers, and they're down there, and I bumped into these guys, and you got to understand, like, the scarcity mindset that causes Black men to fight each other in America does not exist out there, because it is an abundance mindset, and nobody's fighting for women in these places. So there's a peace and there's a camaraderie and a brotherhood that exists amongst Black men when they travel to these places. It's peace. It's, hey, these chicks are for the streets. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're not fighting over them. They're for the streets. Yeah. The bros over, you know the next word, right? So again, you have to, before you gotta go to one of these places. I've put off for a long time because my whole philosophy was I'm not traveling, you know, to smash, right? But it's bigger than that. It's an ego booster. It's a treatment that you've never experienced in your life, and you need to live it. Fly out.
Yeah, man. I mean, everybody who's left the States, man, told me, man, that, you know, you get treated differently elsewhere in the world than you do in the United States, man. And I try to tell people in general, though, look, this is the supremacy, man, capital, bruh. White supremacy capitalism. I mean, not capital, but capitalism, but capital. This is the repository of white supremacy, the United States, man. I'm just saying, like, as far as I'm concerned, it's the only place in the world where you had the form of slavery that you did. And not to say that, you know, it didn't happen in Brazil, it didn't happen in, you know, Cape Verde, it didn't happen in Martinique, it didn't happen in Jamaica, but it's something unique about this slavery, man, to where people like elsewhere in the world pattern their racism after this. Like, okay, the Nazis got their, you know, understanding of how to create the Holocaust from the Americans. Like, let's take something from their page, you know, or their playbook, and utilize it in our genocidal, you know, schema. It just goes to show you, man, these people have perfected racism. Okay, so but at the end of the day, I know the Black community, for the most part, man, you know, is it all the way over? Now it is. I'll say that currently, this is what the black nationalists don't get at the current. Well, I think they do get it, and this is why they pay lip service to the Velvet Picture, okay? Because they know without the black family, there is no chance of black nationalism. It's all dead, okay? I got like a document that the people in the Combahee River Collective utilized in order to denounce black nationalism, because that's what they did. And because you got to think, in the 60s and 70s, you had a whole host of black nationalist scholars, political activists. I mean, people like Kwame Ture and shit. You know, academicians like Molefe Kete Asante, Nathan and Julia Hare. I mean, you had a whole bunch of black nationalists out here, okay? And little by little, these feminists, man, whittled away at the whole notion, the idea, the concept that black nationalism was going to be the future of the black community in America. And they have won. And you see what the consequences are. Black Lives Matter.
That's it.
Patrice Cullors, Alicia Garza, and the other lady whose name you never know, because even though she looked better than both of them, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't know who she's involved with or what the hell she's doing or what her name is. But the whole thing is, these women are cashing in to the neoliberal gene, man. That's all this shit is about, man. It's about money, attention, and jobs. Money, attention, jobs, and power.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
That's all this shit is, bro.
I agree, but at this point, like, you know, it's like one of the guys in the chat said, like, I think this whole idea of you know, that men have of the black community is the only thing that keeps that alive. Once the majority of black men abandon that idea, then it's over for them, actually. You know, imagine, right? Imagine the amount of simps and white knights and all of this, like, at 20% of the black population. Imagine that reality, bro. Imagine that, right? Imagine what black women's reality would be if that were the case. If 80% of black men in America were red pill. See,
but it's going to get to that point. It's going to get to that point, bro.
It will. But check this out, right? As much as they think that their futures aren't tied to us, it is. Again, there's nothing out there for them other than pink dick, right? There's those men, those you know, colonialist men, those colonizers, whatever have you. It's like what Doc Neal was saying earlier about the Spaniards. See, the Spaniards took the women. These men aren't taking these women. They aren't taking these women. They aren't taking these women as their wives. Like, if there was, listen, man, if white men wanted to take black women the way the Spaniards took the rest of these indigenous women that they, you know, from the places they conquered, we'd be having a different conversation. You understand what I'm saying? But that's not what's happened here. You understand? So again, when it gets to that point, G, when it gets to that point, Doc, where, you know, more and more black men become red pill. Right now, these you know, these women are trying to cancel Kevin Samuels and this, that, because there's a danger. They're scared to death of that. You understand what I'm saying? You know,
they can't, like Kevin Samuels. Like, I look, Kevin Samuels, man. I agree with what Dr. Neal said earlier. You know, I like Kevin Samuels, but you know, at the end of the day, Kevin Samuels is selling black men a lot of wet dreams.
No, I agree.
You can't change culture without changing the institutions that exist and the policies and the laws that exist within that culture.
Agreed.
Okay, so at the end of the day, you could be this motherfucking balling ass dude like what's the guy's name, man? Steven Jackson.
Yeah.
And your wife will still try to, you know, come to you with, I ain't signing the prenup.
But G, check this out. I agree with you, but that's not the part that's scary to them. The part that's scary to them
men talking back.
Exactly.
Men having an opinion. And that's why I say I did a video a long time ago, man. Black men, you do not need permission to speak, man. This is the First Amendment, even though we're not recognized fully as citizens in this joint. That's clear to me. But I mean, to the extent that we have the freedom of speech. We can say what we want to say. You can call us all the names you want to call us. You can talk about black women, this and that. Look, I told black women, man, straight to my face. I mean, straight to their faces. I don't care about your feelings. I talk to white women who are feminists like this. Like, look, I don't care about your feelings because you don't give a damn about mine. So, I'm just giving you what you're putting out. You don't care about what's happening to us on the ground. I'll tell her why. I just told her 2 weeks ago. A white feminist went and bought me some lunch. We met up and, she was like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, look, let's have these conversations. Because I'm going to give you the truth and I'm going to give it to you. And she was like, yeah, I do believe, in a great variety of instances, a lot of women in this culture are acting on bad faith. And what is bad faith? It means that you're saying that you subscribe to a certain set of principles, but you're not really living up to those principles consistently. You only do what's necessary to be done in order to give off the appearance that you're operating by that principle or that you're making a certain set of choices. Women in this culture, man, have to understand either you're going to be free and be accountable and take on risk and burdens just like men, or either you're not going to be free. This middle point, this liminal state where I can opt in and out of femininity whenever I decide and in and out of masculinity when I decide, it ain't going to work. And then you require us to remain steadfast and duty bound to masculinity when it serves you, and then to dial it down a notch when it doesn't. Man, that shit ain't going to work for us, man. I'm not a thermometer, dog.
For us, it doesn't work. Understand, right? Men like us at this moment in time are not the majority, but as that changes, right? As that changes, because right now, it's like even before we got to this point, you know what I mean? They were, on TV saying this and that about black men, blase, blase, blah, on these, national platforms. So now that you have, internet, you have the YouTubes and things like that, where men are kicking these opinions because we weren't allowed to say this stuff on, mainstream media. Now it's having an effect, right? So now that you see that effect, take place, and gradually now again you have a guy who is approaching mainstream fame, and I'm talking about Kevin Samuels, and I'm not talking about his ideas of like what you spoke on before, being this six-figure earner where women accept you, and if we all are six-figure earners, then women will accept us and they'll join our community and they'll build with us. Not that part of it, the red pill part of it. Well, he says he's not red pill, but in a way he kind of is, right? To some degree, right? As men move toward that philosophy, right? Because these women, as independent as they want to be, they still need us to do the heavy moving and lifting. They still need us to do that. Once we walk away, more of us walk away, right? It'll be just like things were at the beginning of this pandemic, where you're going to see a lot of pussy being thrown around because it's going to be like Survivor. You understand what I'm saying? In respect to them. Because they can't do it.
I'm going to tell you something. I saw something earlier today that kind of disgruntled me, man. Like, it's a lot of men who still believe that, they're supposed to do certain things according to the dictates of traditional masculinity.
Yeah.
I say, I'm going to tell you what traditional masculinity really is. That Clark Gable Casablanca shit. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Okay? That old Clint Eastwood shit where be quiet. I'm walking off. I'm not listening to what you got to say, ma'am. Okay? Like, if you really want to be on some traditional masculinity, these guys are oscillating back and forth between traditional masculinity and being understanding of women and their unique needs. And, according to, they're shaming and shit like that. When men say, look, I'm tired of the shaming tactics, I'm tired of the gaslighting, I'm tired of the passive aggressiveness, because that's all cancel culture is. It's passive aggressive behavior utilized in order to create social death for you. That's all that shit is. Okay.
See, the problem with simping is that there are no rewards, and the thing about women is, again, they love simping, but they hate simps. So what eventually ends up happening, and this is what will cause the shift more than anything, is that if you're not rewarding the behavior that you're trying to promote in men, it won't last, because men, being the logical and practical and pragmatic people we are, we respond to positive reinforcement. Like there has to be a reward, there has to be a return, and as men are seeing, and they're getting this information now over the internet, younger and younger and younger, and just like women, like the girl that's in the video cursing her dad out, or disrespecting him. These boys are coming across this information earlier, and they're coming across us talking about this stuff and things like that, because I have conversations with young guys, and as that begins to happen, and they're looking at their experiences like, well, you're telling me to be this way, but what's the reward? You understand? If women rewarded simping, then it would be even harder for the things that we're saying to take place, but they refuse to do it. So again, when we get to that point, it'll be interesting to not only what will happen, but right now what they do is shame, right? So when the shaming doesn't work, and we get closer to that period, what will the next tactic be? That's another thing to think about.
The tactic is always a tactic.
They're gonna have to escalate from there. So like Dr. Neil says, okay, right now you got the state, is serving as the patriarchal force for these kids. Well, for men too, right? They turn to the state to keep us in line. So what happens when, okay, we can fly out, we can do this, do that. Right now they're shaming, right? Shaming, it works for a lot of guys, but it doesn't work for everybody. But as it works for less and less and less, what is the next level of, I guess, passive aggression, or even aggression, that they're going to have to employ to make us, or to keep us in line with them, being gynocratic, etc.
Well, I mean, they got all the. I don't know how much better they could ever have it than they have it now. I mean, they have control over the family, which means they have the ear of the children. Okay, they have the cooperation and the validation of the state. I don't know how much more power they could ever have. I don't think that they can go anywhere else other than this. They've already used every power of seduction and influence that they have in order to try to make us bend the knee and to fall on the sword, or whatever the case may be, to accept, the glory and the grandeur of the velvet picture. Okay, what more can they do? Okay, now either men are going to have to say, look, this contract that y'all tore up and that you want us to accept in this current manifestation, we reject it. All men have to do is start speaking their minds. Because most men think this way anyway. They just don't say it openly. But see, I went into dudes need to stop, man, gratiating and being toady and obsequious to these chicks, bro. You know what I'm saying? They need to adopt the principles of Clark Gable, man. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. Close the door, walk off, throw your coat over your shoulder, and leave her ass there.
It's not going to happen today, but it's going to happen. But I would be, and I don't know if it'll happen in our lifetime or we'll just be old men watching it go down and laughing. What I'm saying is it'll be very interesting to see what they do beyond shaming, right? If there's anything they can do.
They're going to do the Erica Lachey. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, we want you. They're going to do the Taraji Henderson. That's what they're going to do. They're going to be like, hey, baby, we love you, black men. They're going to do the Oprah now. Oh. We love you, black men. We, like, I'm like Adolph Reed on this shit, man. Like, man, these women are straight talking out the side of their head.
Listen, brothers, we are over the 2-hour mark, and I'm so glad that you guys you joined me on the stream tonight, man. This has been a wonderful,
no doubt,
exchange, and I'm going to do this again, man. And again, shout out to Dr. T. Hasan Johnson who set this thing off. Stream on the Velvet Painting. This thing is going to be continued. Thank you, GG. Thank you, Keep It 100, man. We're gonna check this thing out, man. It's getting late. And it's the first time we're doing this forum like this. And so you guys, I appreciate you all for inaugurating this super live stream. And thank you guys in the chat for being with us, man.
Sign
out, man. So
Doctor and Doctor.
It's hard to talk so much, bro.
I appreciate you all. So you guys look for future streams from me, and y'all hit up the G with the PhD. Y'all know where to find them. Y'all hit up Keep It 100 right here on YouTube, man, because this fire doesn't stop, brother.
All right, y'all. Be good, man. Take care, man.
Peace out.
Peace out. Peace out.
Peace.